If you told me that by the end of a year which saw the release of a brand new next-gen follow-up to Monster Hunter World, I would have had more time logged in January of that year cleaning up my Metaphori Fantasial playthrough that bled into 2025, I would have been like, damn, that's crazy. And here we are. It has been about 1 year since Capcom delivered us Monster Hunter Wilds, a game which was highly anticipated by many, myself included, leading to a historic, record-breaking launch for the company. The last time we checked in on Monster Hunter Wilds, 6 months after the game's initial launch, things were pretty dire. The game was in a very rough spot, lacking endgame content, mostly negative reviews on Steam, but in the 6 months following that check-in, Capcom has delivered several title updates, 4 in fact, and the game is in a very different state right now. As of today, Capcom has delivered on that initial roadmap, bringing us 4 major title updates which added a bunch of endgame high-level hunts, bringing much-needed challenge to the game for many Monster Hunter veterans. Beyond that, we also got the Gathering Hub, seasonal events, and a bunch of other things that made this Monster Hunter game feel a lot more Monster Hunter than it did in February of 2025. Presumably, now would be when we begin to pivot towards putting attention on the major G-Rank expansion for Monster Hunter Wilds, and while that is confirmed to be getting announced and revealed later in 2026, currently a lot is unknown about what the scope of it will be, what it will be addressing for players who felt that the base game was lacking. And many fans are speculating that while it may be revealed this year, it could realistically release early 2027. But in the meantime, Capcom has promised that we will be getting a kind of half title update, something more substantial than just a patch, bringing new content to the game, essentially a title update 4.5. Now, that's all well and good. The title updates have gone a long way in addressing one of the major outcries from Monster Hunter veterans at launch, being the lack of challenge. It's there now, to a substantial degree, so much so that the game has now been able to achieve mostly positive recent reviews on Steam. But what is it that actually comes next for Monster Hunter, aside from Monster Hunter Stories 3 later in March? Well, based on some data mining, people found references to a Nintendo Switch 2 version of Monster Hunter Wilds, which have since been removed from the back end of the game, but there is still an image of 4 Nintendo Switch 2 consoles being played by Palico, so it seems like we will be getting a version of this game on the Nintendo Switch 2 at some point in time. Now, if I'm Capcom, I desperately want that, not only because the sales of Monster Hunter Wilds plateaued after breaking a lot of records at launch and really steeply declining throughout the rest of 2025, injecting a new player base into that community, into the Monster Hunter Wilds player base, is something that the game probably desperately needs, and I'm sure Capcom would like to see. And it makes a lot of sense, because for the longest time, Monster Hunter was synonymous with handheld gaming, be it the PSP or the Nintendo 3DS. Even as recent as the Nintendo Switch with Monster Hunter Rise, Monster Hunter is still known as a portable franchise, so bringing Wilds to the Switch 2, theoretically, it's a slam dunk. And as great as the Nintendo Switch 2 is, and as well as it's been able to run some pretty heavy games like Cyberpunk 2077 and even a Capcom game, as we saw Resident Evil Requiem running great on the device, it all comes down to optimization. But if we're looking at the Steam Deck and its ability to run Monster Hunter Wilds, yeah, concessions are gonna have to be made, and they're gonna be big ones. And listen, I love Monster Hunter as a handheld experience. It's one of the many reasons why Rise is my favorite of the modern games, but if Wilds needs to be nerfed so significantly to get it on this new platform, we can't put it past the player base to just ignore it in favor of older Monster Hunter games, as we saw Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate and Monster Hunter Rise on Nintendo Switch get pretty major player bumps when Wilds kind of fell flat on its face last year. Now, aside from the latest flagship Monster Hunter game releasing on a new platform, the other thing on the horizon for Monster Hunter Wilds is that untitled, announced in 2026 G-Rank expansion in the vein of Iceborne and Sunbreak. Those expansions refined what was already great about those versions of Monster Hunter while adding in some things that fans really felt went the extra mile in making it an all-timer. But for me personally, and my issues with Monster Hunter Wilds, I don't know if just an expansion will be able to remedy any of them in any significant way. And I'm really not sure where I stand as a Monster Hunter fan with Wilds and what comes next. To put it plainly, Monster Hunter Wilds to me took a lot of the hunting out of Monster Hunter. All of the biomes kind of blend together to serve this idea of an open world. A lot of the monsters, when you go out to hunt them, are kind of just there, waiting for you to ride over to them and kill them. And I don't know if you can remedy that with a new batch of exciting monsters or biomes that get tacked onto this big open world map. Now, if the new areas of this expansion are able to stand alone from the Wilds world as we've experienced it, that would be a completely different conversation. That would do wonders for me to really give Wilds some striking artistic locations and a much stronger identity than the muddy, smudgy, kind of ugly world that we have right now. But that is a lot of what ifs and maybes. Monster Hunter Wilds is undoubtedly in a much better place today than it was a year ago, and that is wonderful to see. And it is a very fun roller coaster introduction to the world of Monster Hunter, the characters, the quirky personalities of this long-running series that is beloved for a reason. With the base game content complete in a much better state and much more playable today than it was a year ago, with all eyes ahead on that next expansion, I'm left asking myself, do I even want to go back to Wilds? That is. Because at this point, truthfully, it feels like we might just be better off pulling a mulligan and starting over with a fresh new take on what Monster Hunter should be for a new generation. Over the last 10 years, Capcom has delivered some of my favorite games ever, and they just did it again with Resident Evil Requiem, a game that had no business being open world and was not. So one Monster Hunter game that didn't deliver for me is not enough to sway my confidence in Capcom or their ability to make a great game I truly love, but it is enough to make me hope that they've learned some lessons and it's not going to take an entire new generation to see those lessons implemented into the next Monster Hunter experience that I really want to play. So how do you feel about Monster Hunter Wilds 1 year after it initially launched? Are you still playing the game? Is it really a transformative experience today in 2026 compared to February of 2025? Are you hopeful for the new expansion? Do you think it's going to really level up the game and make it the Monster Hunter that you've wanted it to be this whole time? Be sure to let us know what you hope to see from the series next. But for more on Monster Hunter, what's the latest on Capcom and the world of gaming, you can stay tuned right here or over on GamerRant.com. But for now, thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time.